Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever edition of the Orso You Thought Podcast with KJ Orso. Clever name, clever beginning. It's late night here in Oklahoma, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to set this up and go about all of this. But I've been working on and pondering with the idea of starting a weekly podcast where I discuss my wrestling road trips and my mental state, my storylines, and my goals, and the motivation or the setbacks I've been facing, and different things of that nature to kind of give fans an in depth look at the mind of the Silver Tongue Savant, KJ Orso. Now, usually, or hopefully, I'll have someone here to bounce ideas off of with, but I wanted to get this first one out, and scheduling conflicts and such made me realize, okay, I just need to talk to this freaking microphone and put it out. In the past, I've tried to over edit things I get frustrated with myself, honestly. I just get mad at editing or wouldn't be able to find the time to do the things I wanted to do in a timely manner. And I feel like I slacked on my Patreon in doing so. But this is a quick 30-minute podcast that I will be dropping every week, like I said, talking about wrestling, my wrestling in particular, my storylines in particular, but some weeks, depending on what topics we have to talk about, and maybe if I've, fully discussed my weekend shows, I will then go into depth about what my thoughts are on the whole product of today's wrestling atmosphere and what I think is the best storylines and what I like and what I don't like. Maybe I'll jump into some pop culture things and talk about movies or TV shows I've been watching. It just all depends on what I'm feeling like this week. It's Orso You Thought. I'm Orso, and it's my thoughts. But on this episode, first ever free episode that I'm going to put out, I will talk a lot about what's been going on in the past couple months. In April, I lost my mask. Fuego del Sol passed away, is deceased, he is dead, he's gone. And I slowly transitioned into what I am today, and that is the Silver Tongue Savant, KJ Orso. So I'll be talking about that match with Atticus Cogar. I'll be talking about the subsequent turn, and me and Sam Stackhouse, who are currently embroiled in this super hot feud in GCW, where I competed in a match where I bled the most I've ever bled in a pro wrestling ring. It was a crazy sight to see, and you'll get all my thoughts on that, as well as why I unmasked to begin with and what was my thought process behind it, how I'm feeling about everything, and what AEW had to say about it all, and um, why I feel like it's an interesting story on that front as well. Now, some of you may have heard this if you are an avid if you're an avid KJ supporter or soldier, as I like to call it, KJ Crusader or soldier. You have probably heard me on either other podcasts, on the KBW podcast, which I host with a couple of buddies of mine. You've probably heard me go in depth about a lot of this already. But this one, it'll be kind of just me free thinking and flowing and thoughts. I'm not going to have any edits on this, so if I stumble over my words, you have to bear with me because it is currently 5:30 in the morning. I'm staying up all night because I'm jumping on a flight to Ireland tomorrow to support a friend at his wedding. I'll also be talking about my matchup at GCW's Backyard Wrestling 7 against AK-47. So that's a fun thing I'll throw in there as well. But should we get started? I slowly unveiled and rolled out a promo earlier this week, kind of going more in depth and explaining this new character that I'm pursuing. And it's partly based on real events. I do honestly feel like the world is going in a negative direction. I feel like, for the most part, I'm not going to say I wake up with this mindset every single day, but for the most part, I wake up with a thirst for knowledge, with a yearn to learn and to better myself. I'm eager to constantly gather more information about the world, about myself, about my surroundings, and use that to further develop my relationships and pursue my goals. And so I wanted to try to use that as a man who was probably teetering on the edge of madness while also seeming so calculated and so deliberate and so unabashedly persistent in his pursuit to make the world a better place. I am on a crusade to crush incompetence. I said that in that promo, and I'll definitely make that one of my catchphrases going forwards, and that gives everyone a cute little nickname that they can go by as a KJ Crusader. Um, I don't watch a lot of TikTok, and I feel like the world is going more and more in that direction. I'm not saying I don't have useful ways to waste time. I love listening to comedic podcasts. However, I have YouTube Premium, so I can close the app and listen to it in a podcast form, but still also jump in. And if I want the visual elements, I can also watch those as well. So I do waste time, but I feel like I can get other things done while I waste that time and while I listen to that content. I'm not saying I don't enjoy some YouTube, but because I definitely do. But I feel like if you can't remember the last 5 videos you watched on an app, you probably shouldn't spend so much time watching that app or consuming that media. And I feel like the world is going in that direction. We're now no longer pursuing engineer degrees or doctors or lawyers. You're looking at trying to be TikTok or reality stars. It's a bunch of nonsense in a lot of ways, at least if that's the mindset of this new KJ Orso. And I will slowly be unveiling that and delving deeper into that as time goes on with my promos and with my matches as well as stories as well. I think Fuego del Sol, I won't say ran its course, but I will say that I've been pondering this idea for years. You know, when I first got into pro wrestling, I never imagined I was going to wear a mask for 11 years. I thought I would wear the mask for a few years while I put on some weight and then eventually transition once I got good and a little bit bigger. However, they say if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And I don't feel like for the longest time it wasn't broken. It got me all the way to AEW, something I'm very proud of. How I do feel like through creative and through the process of how things are done there, that I wasn't in a position to thrive or didn't have the time to thrive like I wish I would have. And things, ran its course. Things ran their course, and then I, had got released. Once I experienced that, I realized I need to try to hit the ground running and get Fuego signed somewhere else. For nearly 2 years, that's what I did. I traveled all around the globe. I used a lot of the savings I had in AEW or had, saved up from AEW to fly myself to different promotions, to drive, 10, 20 hours to get to promotions I felt like I needed to be at to get myself noticed and my name out there. And it was damn near 2 years, and I didn't get a call back from people I reached out to, because I did reach out to TNA. I did go do some backstage things at WWE, but it never came to fruition or led to a contract offer. Then out of nowhere, AEW called me back in the summer of 2024, and they said, hey, we're coming to Texas. We're doing, 5 weeks of shows. We'd love to have you on. And it felt like I was going to get re-signed to AEW. And unfortunately, after the 5 weeks were up, even though I got nothing but good compliments and feedback, and I was there in the best shape of my life, it didn't lead to that contract. And I waited at home, and I would check in with people backstage at AEW every month trying to get on. And unless they were coming close to my town, I wasn't getting booked. It was only, you can have a shot and be a backstage extra, and, we're going to treat you like a talent that was, but we're going to pay you like an extra. And that's fine. I understood. I knew what I was trying to do. I was trying to get re-signed. But it slowly but surely felt like Fuego wasn't getting the respect that I felt like he had earned, or was, clearly it was clearly apparent, it should have been apparent to people how hard I was working to improve. And I felt like GCW was really only the place that was giving me time to actually show my skill set. I was getting promo time there. I was getting matches with guys like Zack Sabre Jr., which I'm a match I'm just extremely proud of. So in December of 2024, I started really thinking about, okay, when would be the proper time to take the mask off and completely flip everything on its head, do a 180, an about face, and really show the world a whole different side of me. Introduce them to the real me in a sense, and shake things up and attract some buzz and some attention. Things that I felt like I was lacking in the 2 years since leaving AEW. And so, me and Atticus Kogar had a mini rivalry, which consisted of multiple matches that led to his GCW career versus my mask at Joey Janela's Spring Break 9. It's one of the biggest independent wrestling shows of the year. It's one of GCW's biggest shows of the year. It's right there, a part of WrestleMania weekend, where all wrestling fans from around the world gather to watch pro wrestling, to celebrate pro wrestling. And, over 1,000 people packed the Palms Casino and watched what I feel like was one of my best matches that I've ever put on. Not only because it was gory, it was wild, there was insane moves and spots, but because there was a story leading into it. I feel like I want to put more time and effort into stories, and you can't do that unless you're at a place consistently and at a place that has buzz and attention. And GCW was the right place and the right time to do that. And I lost my mask, and I left my boots in the ring strategically, trying to lay the groundwork and plant the seeds that Fuego del Sol was done and gone. However, what people did not expect was for me to show up 3 weeks later on May 2nd in Los Angeles and turn on my best friend and tag partner, Sam Stackhouse. I got crazy heat that night. The crowd was chanting "Fuck you, Fuego, why, Fuego, why?" So many chants, so much energy in that building with over like 600 people there, and I don't know if I've ever felt that alive in my career. It felt like my ideas, my ability to thrive in this industry was on display. And not only on display, it was the genesis of what was to come. I knew that because I was so lovable, because I had that underdog baby face, just as almost God-given, can't be taught energy. And that's not even my words. That's words from greats around the industry that has talked to me. There's just this undeniable likability to me that I was able to absolutely flip on his head, because no one expected me to then become such an ignorant and arrogant and just complete asshole, really, to be quite frank about it. Just become the ultimate asshole. And now doing it in a much more snarky, snobby way. Trying to be highbrow. I don't want it to be a cheap heat kind of guy. I don't want to just come in and shit on the town, even though I do love a clever insult. Clever insults will never get old. But I want it to be more about a man who is on a mission than just a man trying to be a bad guy. I don't want to be compared to other bad guys. So in my head, there is no black and white. There's only gray. I am on a mission to make people better. Whether it be I'll be your psychologist, your life coach, your motivational speaker, whatever I need to be to help you better yourself, to kick things into gear, that's what I want to be. And so if you join me on my crusade, then I'm not trying to make you mad or make you boo me. There's two main missions. The first objective is to win and be successful by any means necessary. That means I don't care whose head I got to step on to get to the top. I'm getting to the top so I can then spread my message and shine like the star I know I am, so people can then follow the North Star that is me to the promised land. And I don't want to be I'm using a lot of, biblical metaphors, but I don't want to be a messianic figure. I don't want to be the new Messiah. No, I'll just be a general guiding my soldiers into a better day, a better tomorrow. The world is getting lazier, it's getting dumber, it's lacking self-awareness. The attention spans are getting shorter. I'm trying to reverse that. I'm trying to be a I'm trying to be the antithesis of that. And so I will be the shock to the system that is needed. I will be the radiation to the cancer of the world and what is spreading throughout. And so that's the direction I'm going in. If you don't like that, if you don't like my message, you don't like my objectives, then you will boo me. But for the KJ Crusaders, for your soldiers, you understand it. You will get behind me. You will support me. That's who this podcast is for. It's also for people that want to better themselves. Like I'm gonna be putting up motivational speeches, motivational tweets, and motivational posts on a daily basis. Give you a look into my mindset, because I don't want to just act like it's so easy for me to wake up on the right side of the bed. It's not. I had to kick myself into gear sometimes too. I have to, and being that example that I'm trying to set for you will make me be better. I turned on Sam Stackhouse. He then cost me the JCW, the Jersey Championship Wrestling championship match against Masha Slamovich, which then set up the I Quit match in Dallas, Texas. But before I get to that, I want to go and talk about GCW's Backyard Wrestling 7. In my first promo explaining what I did after I turned on Sam Stackhouse in LA, I got to go to Rochester, and I pulled over my childhood best friend, the guy who backyard wrestled with me, AK-47, over the railing, and I beat him up on GCW programming. And then we were asked if we wanted to run back the old Cage versus AK-47 rivalry at GCW Backyard Wrestling 7 on the 4th of July. It was awesome. It was so cool. I busted out the old green shorts that I used to wear in the backyard. I did some moves that I haven't done in 10 years, and we got to just beat each other up. Unfortunately, during that match, I suffered a dislocated elbow, and then I relocated it myself in the match to continue going. I hit one of the coolest moves that I've ever hit, where I jumped off of a trampoline over the top rope, hitting the middle rope of the other. If you haven't seen it, it's on my X account, formerly known as Twitter. Go check it out. I'll be posting it on Instagram here soon as well. You should check it out, because it's one of the coolest things I've ever done. But getting to wrestle AK was a moment, even though I hurt my elbow, and I'm facing like minor setbacks still. I haven't been able to properly work out every day like I want to, because I've been trying to heal this elbow up that happened on July 4th. It's been 20 days, over 2.5 weeks, and I'm still having effects and strength issues and grip issues, and I didn't go get it checked out because I really can't afford to do that right now, because that's, how things are going in my life. So I'm trying to pick things back up, and one of the ways I'm going to do that is with this Patreon, and one of the ways I'm going to do that is with this podcast and clips of this podcast every week to kind of get my thoughts out there, because I do feel like for the people that love pro wrestling, you will feel that radiating off me, and you'll enjoy the product that I'm trying to put out on a weekly basis. So then let's transition now into the Sam Stackhouse match in Dallas, Texas. I completely had switched up my look from the Fuego look. I wore tights for 11 years, but I switched to trunks. I was wearing shooter boots, amateur wrestling style shoes for 11 years, and I switched to boots, wrestling boots, proper wrestling boots. I completely switched up my whole look to try to look the exact opposite of Fuego del Sol and really embed who KJ Orso is in everyone's mind, that he's a whole different being. I try to carry myself with a different demeanor. I wear suits to the shows or button-ups, and just looking like the star that I'm trying to portray. And this match was the first match I got to wear white. I've been wearing darker looking gear, but I wore white, and how apropos, because it ended up being a bloodbath. Both me and Sam Stackhouse bleeding profusely. Some say it was even hard to watch at times. It's the most that I've ever bled in the ring. I've bled in previous matches. I bled where I ripped the mask open and it was blood everywhere. But this was the first time that you could see my whole face. You could see the whites of my eyes with the crimson mask. And it was so exhilarating, but not just because we were bleeding. I don't like death matches for the sake of death matches. I don't like hardcore for the sake of hardcore. I think you go in there, you want to show off your ability to wrestle within the ropes in that ring, who can pin who can make each other submit. If you needed to bring weapons or foreign objects into the ring, there should be real stakes, and there should be almost real emotions involved. There should be a reason that you want to hit a man with a steel chair. And I feel like we had that more in this match with me and Sam Stackhouse, right? He legitimately was my best friend. And I do legitimately feel like he slipped on some of the goals that he should be making for himself. This is teetering on more reality than it is fiction. I think Sam is a great guy. He's phenomenal. He's got a great attitude. He's one of the most lovable men I've ever met in my life. However, he is a self-admitted slacker at times. He needs to put more work in. He knows that he has goals that I know he could reach if he would just put in the extra effort. And that is the basis of my whole turn on him, is because I feel that I can no longer surround myself or tolerate that demeanor around me. It brings me down. It holds me back. They say you're a product of the 5 people you spend the most time with in your life. And I feel like spending time with Sam Stackhouse was not helping me better myself or get me to the goals that I wanted to accomplish. So I needed to drop him like a bad habit. So that's what I did. But now he's like a thorn in my side that won't go away. He kept coming and coming. Okay, so let's end this once and for all. You want me to quit this and go back to being your friend? I want you to quit worrying about me. And so we beat each other to a bloody pulp. And then his wife come in to graciously and to humbly throw in the towel for him because he was too stupid to say the words "I quit." And I used that to my advantage to show him just how heartless I actually am. And I threatened to hit her with a steel chair, and he uttered the words "I quit." And it felt magical. It felt euphoric. The crowd got their money's worth with all the craziness and spots. I hit him with a avalanche destroyer off the top through doors. He gave me a Samoan drop off the top through a door. I went into thumbtacks. He went into thumbtacks. He hit me with a cowbell. I hit him with a chain. Like, there were so many back and forth moments in that match to where I had to tape the man to the ropes and then threaten his wife to make him finally quit. But as I got up to the ropes and posed, as I came down, I looked back and I saw her crawling, and she was in the perfect position for the move that used to be known as the shots fired double stomp, which is now known as character assassination. And I knew I had to hit her with it, because when he said "I quit," and I showed mercy and I showed grace and I didn't hit her with that chair, I didn't want him to mistake my kindness for weakness. I didn't want him to mistake KJ Orso's desire for winning and euphoric feeling that came over me, that overwhelmed my body. I didn't want him to mistake that as that, oh no, he dropped that chair because Fuego's still in there somewhere. So I had to step off of her back and double stomp her head and neck into the canvas, and then look that man in his eyes as he was enraged. And I couldn't do nothing but smile, because in my head, I never felt so accomplished. Not only did I make him quit, I finally killed Fuego del Sol once and for all. And now I can move past Sam Stackhouse, and I can focus on gold. I don't think it's any secret. I want to make it known right now for the world to hear it. I want the GCW World Championship. That's what I'm after. I will not stop until I get it. I know I can carry that championship on my shoulders and around my waist and carry that company on my back. I've had two, you could argue three, of the best GCW matches this year. Zack Sabre Jr., Atticus Cogar at Spring Break, Sam Stackhouse in Dallas. You can argue in this time period of the past 6 months, I've had the best stories in GCW. The only one that can compete with me is the man who unmasked me and was a part of that long story. And I'm sure maybe when the time comes, our paths will cross again. Who knows what the circumstances will be, but I don't care about that. What I care about is the GCW World Championship. And there is a champion who's had a ton of defenses and has held that title since Hammerstein Ballroom in January in Effie. But Effie, you've almost looked unstoppable. You've gotten to the point where people are like, who can even take this title off of you? But people aren't leaving GCW shows talking about how great of a champion Effie is. They're leaving GCW shows. They're leaving GCW shows going, holy shit, KJ Orso. That guy is hot right now. That guy's the future. That guy is the talk of the company. And the only thing missing, the only thing that would go better than this silver tongue is that GCW gold. And we're going to make it happen one way or another. You know, I have long-term goals. Of course, I want to get re-signed somewhere. But, you know, I guess I can kind of segue right into the AEW thing, right? I brought this to AEW. I did shows for AEW in February. I wrestled Blake Christian in what I thought was a phenomenal match. I wrestled Wheeler Yuto on the Ring of Honor show as well as Fuego del Sol. And I even talked to Tony Khan personally. And I said, Tony, I would love to come back and be Fuego full time. If you're signing me, I'll stay Fuego forever. But if you're not, I feel like I need to unmask for my own sake, you know. And between my talks with him and my talks with management, it comes to find out he feels like he said that he thinks there's more value with me in the mask than without the mask. And, you know, I didn't say this to him, but in my head I was thinking, well, you don't know what I'm capable of without the mask yet. But if you really think I'm valuable, how valuable am I if I'm not re-signed to the company? It just felt like, you know, it felt like how much am I truly valued to begin with? He even said to me, you know, we're going to use you anytime we come to town, anytime we come to Dallas. I don't want to wait every 6 months. And that I'm not trying to say that at all. Like, I'm not grateful for AEW. I loved AEW. If you're gonna try to take my clips out of context, which a lot of dirt sheets constantly do, let me put it like this. I'm very thankful for Tony Khan. I understand this is a business. He didn't see value in Fuego at least enough to re-sign me, which is fine. I completely get it. I understand it. At least from his point of view, he's got a ton of guys. I'm going to make him regret that decision. I'm going to make sure that the next time anyone offers me a contract, they're coming to me and they're paying me what I want. Right? I will never ask Tony Khan for a contract again in my life. I've done it previously twice. And I will never do it again. The next time I work for AEW, it'll be as KJ Orso, not as Fuego del Sol. And they'll ask me to be there. I won't ask them to be there. I'm saying that with as much respect and as much grace as I can, but also with as much confidence as I know I have, because I do feel like I am clicking on all cylinders and everything is working for me right now as KJ Orso. But we're keeping it under 30 minutes. I just wanted to say all that to say thank you guys for joining the Patreon. Share this, like this. This will be free, but then the rest of it will be on the $5 tier and up on the KJ Orso Patreon. So check it out, and I will be back next week talking more about my life in pro wrestling and what I'm up to and what's going on in my world. And hopefully I actually have a co-host to bounce ideas off of. So thank you, and I'll see you next week.